Thank you for joining today's webinar on IBM performance management in the distribution market. My name is Jesse McNulty, and I'm a Senior Account Manager here at LPA. LPA is an IBM Gold Business Partner dedicated to helping distribution clients, which includes the retail and CPG industries, leverage IBM Analytics to make smarter decisions and drive better business outcomes. LPA provides enablement and implementation services to help you achieve the highest level of ROI, reduce your implementation risks, and accelerate your implementation. We chose IBM as a partner due to their commitment to innovation, end-to-end analytics capabilities, and cloud leadership. With me today, I have Sue Pierce. Sue has over 20 years of implementation experience with IBM Analytics technologies. Sue will be providing a high-level demo with IBM's industry-leading performance management solution, Plan Analytics. At the end of this webinar, if you'd like to take advantage of a free consultation session with us or to set up a custom demo, please email sales@lpa.com or me directly. You can also respond to the follow-up email following the webinar.
I'd like to start to talk today around what leading analytics companies are doing to better differentiate. One of the key components here is not just planning and budgeting. It's to link your financial and operational performance management. You need to have the ability for your demand plans to automatically update revenue plans and staffing plans to automatically update divisional expense plans and so forth. You need that additional lead time. You need that foresight, as operational causes are linked to financial outcomes. Imagine if you had an extra month or quarter of reliable foresight on revenue or expenses. This extra lead time gives our business managers more time to assess alternatives and kick off new initiatives that may have an impact sooner. IBM Solutions do this better than other tools that were designed primarily for cost-centered budgeting. Furthermore, in volatile times, companies need to rely on a more reliable monthly or quarterly forecast rather than annual budgets that are outdated 1 to 2 quarters into the fiscal year in order to steer business performance. Our solutions provide automated workflow, automated alerts, process reporting to help analysts automate the distribution, collection, and aggregation of the forecast from all the right participants in the enterprise. Security and access controls help automate and coordinate submittals and approvals. You can run process reports to provide real-time visibility into the status of forecasts, whether they are started, incomplete, in progress, or successfully submitted. We have customers where over 1,000 cost center managers are updating driver-based rolling forecasts on a monthly basis and rolling these up into a consolidated corporate P&L balance sheet and cash flow. Other tools designed for cost center budgets are limited in these capabilities. In summary, leading analytics companies establish a dynamic, reliable performance management system that links finance and operations in order to steer business performance and adapt to risk. What platform are you using today to manage performance and make your key business decisions? A recent survey of CFOs found that 52% of respondents were using spreadsheets. Only 15% are using an analytic tool that can help tell the whole story. How many uninformed decisions is this leading to in your organization if you're using Excel? Organizations today are striving to ensure that planning, budgeting, forecasting process includes first and foremost visibility across the process to ensure on-time reports and insight to where people are in the process. Transparency of the data, charts, graphs, and narrative back to all the data sources used in the reports. This reduces overall risk or errors in the report and increases accuracy, and most importantly, provides confidence in the content. When people can trace the numbers back to the source, they're going to be more confident in using it. Accountability of report owners, contributors, reviewers, and anyone else involved in the report production process. The more that people collaborate and are accountable for their contribution, the more relevant and consistent the report content will be. Ease of use is critical. If it's not easy, people go back to doing things the way they did them before, or it extends the process versus reducing the time involved. The goal is to reduce the process time to allow employees to focus on more high value tasks and analysis versus manual report production. Now, the reality of Excel, a lot of my customers refer to this as Excel hell. When you're trying to use Excel to do planning, budgeting, forecasting processes, when we look at these key attributes and we think about how this applies to spreadsheets, we realize the real danger in using them. So first, visibility. When you're using Excel and you put together dozens of spreadsheets to send out to a bunch of cost center managers, there's no visibility into where you are in that process. You're using email instead of workflow. You have no idea where people are, if they've opened it. And when you have to change one number, you have to resend all the spreadsheets. It's a lot of work, and you have no visibility. There's no transparency. Humongous risk of errors. Difficult to answer questions on the data. Accountability. What it comes down to then is who's the spreadsheet owner. There's no collaboration around that. You don't know what version of the spreadsheet you're using, if it's the right one, and you don't know where you are in the approval process. This leads to no ownership of budgets. That wasn't my number. Ease of use. Yes, Excel, if people know how to use Excel, it's easy to build, but extremely difficult to maintain. The templates could be changed by people, leading to errors and data maintenance. So we've all lived Excel hell, so I think most people on this webinar are familiar with a lot of these pain points. There are a lot of examples in the public domain on spreadsheet errors and the negative repercussions. Here's a few examples. London Olympics oversold 10,000 tickets due to a keyboard mistake in the spreadsheet. Fidelity identified a $2.6 billion error when one of the accountants omitted a minus sign. A spreadsheet error Fannie Mae cost the company in excess of $1 billion, and the share price dropped over $70 per share. These are all examples. If you go to Google News and search for spreadsheet errors, there's plenty of others out there, and there's always new ones coming in the news. Okay, so how do we leave Excel hell? So IBM Solution gives you the power of Excel that people are and are familiar with, but scales that to the enterprise and removes all these shortcomings we just discussed. So first, IBM's advantages include process standardization with guided workflow. No emails, right? You're not manually driving emails, you're using a workflow so you can see exactly where you're in the process. You have full version control. To track and record all changes, you can see who changed what when. You've got data integrity and transparency through centrally managed and accessible data. If someone's got a question on where a number came from, they can drill all the way back to the source and reconcile instantly without the need to call another analyst or have someone go run a report and manually consolidate data sets. You get instant calculations and aggregations. Instead of manually adding up 30 different spreadsheets and trying to consolidate them, hoping your spreadsheet links all work, it's all automatic. When someone enters a number, corporate can see the consolidated values right away. IBM's taken their Watson solution, integrated predictive analytics, right into planning analytics. So you could start to do things like forecasting right from planning analytics, which could help with your demand or supply planning. It's got built-in social collaboration for fast access to people and answers. And it's easy to maintain and consistent in calculations with a secure and centralized solution. You can very fine-grained control over security. You could say all the way down to the cell level. You could say who's got access to read or write different data sets. It's extreme, flexible security. IBM's premier performance management solution, Plan Analytics, provides you planning, analysis, forecasting. It gives you the ability to do profitability modeling, headcount planning, demand plans, supply chain optimization, metrics, scorecarding, and strategy management from scorecard all the way down to transaction, all in one comprehensive in-memory planning and analytics platform. Plan Analytics drives alignment and monitors execution with scorecarding integrated right into your plans and forecasts. It engages end users via the web, mobile, and desktop experiences. And has the best in-class, in-memory engine behind it to enable very fast performance. IBM has been a leader in cloud. It's no different for Plan Analytics, which has been available for over 2 years in the cloud. You can be provisioned within a day and then be operational with different aspects of Plan Analytics in weeks. So very fast time to value, and cloud makes it so you don't need to wait for your IT folks to go stand up a new server. You can get up and running very fast, and IBM has innovative ways of getting right to your centralized ERP data from the cloud. Okay, before I turn over to Sue for the demo, I'd like to just talk about a few examples of customers that have used IBM Analytics and some of the results they've had. So I'd like to start with Werner Ladder. So you all likely have a Werner Ladder either in your garage or your basement. Werner has been in acquisition mode the last 5 years. They've acquired several companies. They've been operating with many different ERPs, and they were using Excel to consolidate key performance management data across all those ERP systems and attempt to make centralized decisions off of those consolidated results. If we go back to the Excel pains we talked about earlier, that's exactly what Werner was facing. So they replaced that with the IBM Analytics platform that provided them at scorecard level the ability to see exactly how they were doing, but also the ability to drill down all the way to the transaction when necessary to help support key decision making. They cut down on the amount of time it takes to run those reports, so they can make decisions earlier and have an impact much sooner in the process. So Werner found tremendous advantages in using IBM Analytics. Fernco. Fernco makes flexible couplings that may be in your walls right now. If you go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you look at plumbing, you'll find Fernco's name there if you've never heard of Fernco. Their problem is similar. They have multiple locations throughout the world. In some cases, different ERPs and different source systems required to support their budgeting, forecasting, and sales and operational processes. So it's very labor intensive every time they would do a budget or a forecast. They leveraged planning analytics to replace their current manual process and could much more rapidly complete their budget and forecast process. They went from spending weeks to using Plan Analytics, where they were just getting stuff done in days, end-to-end processes. This allowed them to go focus on more important things like making key decisions off of the data that they have. So these are just two examples of companies that have used these platforms to help them make better decisions and put a strong performance management platform in place. Okay. Now I'm going to turn it over to Sue, who's actually going to give you a demo of Planning Analytics. Okay, take it away, Sue.
Thanks, Jesse. Hello, everyone. As Jesse mentioned, my name is Sue Pierce, and I am a principal consultant with LPA Software Solutions. And I'm going to take you through a demonstration of IBM Planning Analytics today. And while I'm going through the demonstration, should you have any questions, please type them into the chat window. It's quite possible that we won't have time on the call today to answer all of your questions, but we will certainly capture those questions and respond to you within the next day or two. So let's get started. There's lots of stuff to cover here. Right now, we're looking at the Planning Analytics welcome page. So if I look at the top right-hand corner, I'm logged in as the administrator. I can do some searching. If I'm searching for something specific to look at, I can create new content. We can apply some filtering and sorting to help us organize the information as well. If I look on the left, we have a folder structure here, starting with shared folders. So administrators can set up top-level shared folders and then assign privileges as to who can read or write to each one of those folders. So it's a way that we can maintain security as to who can see which information we keep in Planning Analytics. Each user also has their own personal folder where they can create their own subfolders, and each person has read and write access to their own personal folder and any subfolders or Planning Analytics workbooks that are saved within. So let's get started. We are going to take a look at how we can utilize IBM Planning Analytics to do our plan or budget, to analyze information, create forecasts, and to use scorecards that to track our KPIs and our strategic goals. Today we're going to be working for a fictitious company called SmartCo, and we'll play a few different roles at SmartCo, but we're going to start as one of these SmartCo execs who wants to quickly see how SmartCo is performing overall as a company against their KPIs that have been identified, as well as their strategic goals. So we're going to start by going into our SmartCo content folder, and then I'm going to open up this SmartCo 2 Planning Analytics workbook. When I open this up, there's several tabs across the top, but as the executive, I'm on the tab that I'm interested in taking a look at our scorecard and metrics. We have 3 boxes across the top here that let us know what we're focused in on. So we're looking at Q4 for the entire organization for the year of 2015. Any one of these boxes we can select and we get a drop down. So we're organized at SmartCo by different locations, which roll up to different regions and to the total company. We have our sales scorecard with key sales metrics along the left, and then we're pulling in different metrics here, starting with our actuals. Now our actuals are pulled in either on demand or by a nightly process. We can pull directly from source systems, we can pull from flat files, and at SmartCo we're actually pulling from multiple source systems. So if I take a look at our organization here, we have some locations such as Massachusetts and Maryland that might be pulling from SAP, but maybe Florida and Michigan use JD Edwards. Doesn't matter to us. We have processes that pull that information in and consolidate it all up so that we can get one view at the total company level, which is what our executives want. So we're pulling those actuals in. We also have budget information. Now that budget information is being captured right within Planning Analytics, and we'll show you how that's done as we go through the presentation today. We're calculating out variances, variance percent. We're also calculating, in our case, a forecast and a forecast variance to actuals. Our forecast can be also entered in and captured just like a budget, or we can use business rules to utilize what we have actual and budget. So maybe we want a rolling forecast where we have actualized through a point in time, and then budget or business rules to calculate out the remaining forecast. But 2 of the key pieces of information here are our status and our trend. So for each one of those sales KPIs, we can see what is the status, red, green, or yellow, and then what's the trend. So quickly we can see we have an issue with gross revenue because it has a red status and it's trending down. Things are looking better for cost of sales because the status is green and trending up. So very quickly we get that visual as to where we are as a total company. If I look down to the bottom left, we're focused in on net profit here, and we see that net profit is red but trending up. So we want to understand what's causing that. And this is our cause and effect analysis. If I look to the left of net profit, I see total operating expenses and gross margin contribute to our net profit. I see gross margin is red, but it is trending up. So we've probably made taken some corrective action there to get our gross margin trending up. What concerns me more is total operating expenses is green, but it is trending down. So I want to take a look at what's behind total operating expense. And if I select that, I can see the details around actuals, budget, and the tolerance. Okay? And then we also said we had some strategic goals. So if I go over to the right here, I see that we have different goals for revenue and expenses and profitability, all going up to meeting our overall goal of being able to meet our current year plan as we've stated to the market. So if I look at each one of these boxes here, I can see for the overall company, I have eight items contributing to this goal that are green. That's good. I have 2 that are yellow and 6 that are red. So I want to make sure that I can get visibility into which ones I need to address. So if I select that box, I can see the status and trend for everything that's rolling into or that affects us meeting our plan. So as the executive, I do want to take a look at what's going on. I see the total company. I'd also like to just dig a little deeper. Is it a specific region that is having an issue and that's why our gross revenue is going down? So I'll just start at the top with the East region. And I've now filtered every one of the views on here to focus in on the East region. And right away, I can see that we have total operating expenses red and trending down, as well as gross margin red and trending down. And that is something we need to address. If I look at our strategy maps over here, I see the ability to grow revenue so that we can increase profitability by 10% annually. I can't do that if my gross revenue is trending down and our revenue per FTE is trending down. So that's about as far as I want to go as the executive here. What I now want to do is I want to reach out to that Eastern regional manager and say, hey, can you take a look at this? Can you dig a little deeper and let me know what's going on? I can send him an email. We also have chat right within here where I could send him a message on this particular scorecard with his Eastern region selected. So we're now going to switch gears. We're now going to become that Eastern regional manager. And as the Eastern regional manager, I also have the ability to see this scorecard and metrics. But as we said, I want to dig a little bit deeper. So I'm going to go into this revenue analysis tab. When I go here, I have some additional charts and details for me. So we're now looking at gross revenue by total product, and I have details. And then we have some quick visualizations down here to see our products by quarter, as well as our product by channel. Across the top, this is what we call a data player, where I can simply hit play, and it's going to go through each one of the different locations or regions that we have out here. So I can pause it, and as the Eastern manager, I can go ahead. Let's take a look at our entire region. Well, things look pretty stable there. I don't see any drastic drops or drops in by quarter. So I'm going to go through each one of my different locations. Massachusetts is actually going up in the fourth quarter. That's probably good. But when I get to Maryland, I see that things are trending down. And what I see also is that retail looks to have the largest drop. And if I look at my pie chart, retail is also my biggest piece of the pie. So if I'm seeing those drops in retail, and that's my largest piece of the pie, that's probably where I want to start to focus my attention. I can see the details across the top. So if I start looking at June and going through December, I can see, we lose about $100,000 going June through December. But my next thought is, well, I'm looking at all of my products. So just like that executive wanted to drill down into different locations, as this regional manager, I want to drill down and say, hey, is it a particular product line that we're having issues with? So I'm going to go ahead to products. I'm going to take a look at our phones. Again, everything changes to reflect phones, gross revenue, and I look pretty steady from 3 to 4. There's just a slight drop. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next product line of PCs. And this is where I see Yep, we have a pretty good drop from Q2 to Q3 and then Q3 to Q4. So this is something, again, as that regional manager, I now want to reach out to some of my business analysts to understand, what's causing this decrease in revenue and what are our operational plans next year for PCs in the retail channel. Should we be focusing somewhere else to increase our gross revenue, or do we have an issue here? Are we not meeting plan? So on and so forth. Okay, so once again, we are going to switch gears. I'm going to go back to my welcome screen. I'm now going to play the role of this analyst who has just been contacted by the regional manager. I have access to that same information, but I also have some additional workbooks that I have access to where I can dig a little bit deeper. And I'm going to start by taking a look at my revenue workbook. So when I pull this up, I again have some different information around my revenue analysis. I have product data where I'm looking at volumes for each of my products or product types over the different quarters. I can see our product by quarter, and I can also see our product channel, again, confirming that retail is our largest channel. Now, I also have some selection options over here. Right now, I'm focused in on the total channels, and I'm also looking at volume. Now, my regional director said, hey, we think there's something going on in the retail division. So I'm going to go ahead and focus in on retail and take a look at the volumes up here. The volumes look pretty good, but my regional manager was telling me that there's something going on with revenue. So if I go ahead and change my measure to gross revenue, I can start to see that downward trend on PCs. I can also go ahead and drill into PCs to look at our different product lines within our product types. And I can see that we have a pretty good drop in most of them, but I want to focus in here a minute on laptops because that seems to be the most drastic drop that we have there. And I can continue to drill down and take a look at my laptops. Okay, we're looking at gross revenue. There's that approximate 100,000 that we're losing. And let's just take a look at what's going on with our gross margin. And when I select gross margin, I can see there's something certainly going on with our products. These are our actual products for laptops because I have negative gross margins in Q4. So this is something that we certainly need to address. I can go ahead and take that back up just to make sure it isn't across all of our different product lines and it is focused in on laptops there. So this is where I would need to start taking a look at expenses and what's going on there to make our gross margin drop. But before I do that, I really want to take a look at, we're coming up on our planning cycle here and our forecast or our budget for next year. And what do we have planned as far as units, our operational plan? And what's that financial impact going to be if we have these negative gross margins in 2016? So I'm just going to go real quickly into our product unit forecast. And I'm focused in on the East region. We're taking a look at our retail channel, the gross margin in our budget for 2016. And if I look at the total year, I see we're positive. That's good. But as I go through here, what I see is that when we get out to the end of the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, we're seeing those negatives again. So something's going on at the end of the year that's causing us to lose margin on our laptops. If I wanted to just take a look and make sure our volumes are in line, I can go ahead and make that change. And yes, our volumes are in line. So that's somewhere where we need to take a look and dig deeper into why are we seeing probably our costs increase there, right? Okay, so I'm going to stop there on the exploration. And we're going to talk a little bit about that budget information. How do we get this information into planning analytics? And we talked about being able to capture it directly in planning analytics and planning analytics workspace. We can also put some workflow around this so that we can submit for approvals. We can know when the operational plan's done, feed that to our financial plan, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead back to the SmartCo 2 workbook, and I'm going to jump over to this workflow tab. Now, this is where we've created some processes around capturing our data. Now, a lot of those dimensions and being able to see the actuals rolled up to our total company also flow through for capturing our budget. We don't have to recreate anything. Again, we have a centralized place to create once and then deliver across to all of the different locations and products. So one place for our centralized business rules. All right, so I'm in my workflow, and this is our workflow page where I can quickly see where any one of our locations are in their budgeting process. So we do budgets at SmartCo by each of our locations. So if we stay focused on our East region, the East region node has a half-filled yellow square. That tells me that all of the locations below the East region have at least one of them has started their budget process. So when I expand that East region, I see Massachusetts is yellow, so it has started. Maryland has that red square to the left, so that tells me that Maryland has not even started creating their budget yet. And Florida has this green circle with a lock on it. That tells me that Florida has gone in, they've made their changes, and they've submitted that budget for approval. Once Maryland and Massachusetts have submitted, the Eastern region manager would go in, review all of his locations, and then he would submit his Eastern region up to the total company for approval. Okay? We can also see over on the right who had ownership, so who had made changes, who submitted, and when they made those changes and submitted. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at what's behind this workflow. We're going to go ahead and go into Massachusetts. And what we've done here is we've created a template as to how we want to walk through this budgeting process at SmartCo. We create this once, and again, it's used across all of those different locations. So that centralized point of view. We have revenue, where we can go in and introduce new products. We can say, what does it roll up to? Smartphones. What's our annual forecast? When is it going to be available to the market? And what's a comparable product? Now we're forecasting at the annual level. So when we say add this product, it's going to spread that out across the different months based on the like product plan. And you also see this predicted plan. So we've fed some historical data out to Watson Analytics, ran it through a couple of predictive models, and brought that prediction back in for those comparable products. We have the like product and kind of what we're predicting for this new product plan. So just a way that we can start using Watson Analytics to have those predictions for us and balancing that out automatically within our budgeting process. The other place that I want to go is just to jump over to operating expenses, where I can see what's my target, where am I currently at, and if I wanted to make changes here, I'm going to go ahead and take ownership. We can make changes a variety of ways. We have a lot of shortcuts where I can say, you know what, I want to change telephone to be $3,000 for every month. So I'm just going to type in 3,000, use the greater than sign. That will copy it across to all of the months. I could also come in and say, I want to change everything in other expenses except for the last quarter of the year. So I'm going to say, let's apply a hold. We'll hold those 3 months. And then we'll go ahead and say, you know what, this is going to be 1,200, and we'll copy that across. And it changed everything except those ones that I had held. Okay, so just some quick changes. I could also come in if I want to go to travel. We'll go ahead and close up office expenses. I come into travel. Maybe I want to make a change to vehicles, and I want the full year to be $12,000. I can type that in and it'll go ahead and break that back based off of the ratio to the total that was already there. I can also do percent increases or decreases. If I look at data spreads, I can say percent change. I want to increase by, let's say, 12%. So I'm going to put in the 12%. I'm going to add it to what's already there. When I click apply, it adds 12% to my hotel and again breaks it back accordingly. Okay? So just some quick hits on how we can enter data. Again, we're all entering in to one centralized location. The business rules in the background take care of everything. I don't have to worry about, did I send out the correct Excel spreadsheets? If I'm a contributor, I don't have to make sure that I have the correct Excel spreadsheet. Everything rolls up. And if this is where I want it, I'm good to go with my budget, I can say, let's submit this. It asks me, am I sure? I'm going to say, yes, I am. Notice that everything turns black, and I now can no longer go in and make changes. And when I come back to my workflow page, or if my manager would come in for the Eastern region, he would see that Massachusetts and Florida have completed. He can go in, take a look at them. If he's good, he just leaves it as it is until Maryland submits theirs. If he needs us to make changes, he can certainly come over and say, I'm going to reject this budget, and let us know that there are some changes that we need to make. Okay? So we've taken a look at how we can analyze the information, bringing it in from multiple source systems. We've just shown you how you can capture that budget information and apply some workflow so that you have an approval process and you know where people are in their budgeting process, and having that one place to see the consolidation roll all the way up. The other thing we talked about wanting to show you is how can we do some forecasting or have some rolling forecasts in here. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back to our welcome page, and I'm going to go into my P&L final. When I come in here, I'm going to jump directly to the forecast tab because I want to do a rolling forecast. So again, I can select what part of the organization I want to focus in on. We'll just leave it as Massachusetts. And we're going through the year of 2015. I can see that January through June have been actualized, and my current forecast month is July. So July through December are all forecast months. If we've closed July and I want to make a change, I can go ahead and say, you know what? August is our new forecast month. Notice that July changed to an A and the values down here changed to be actualized values. So what we're doing here at SmartCo is we want to utilize our budget information and our actual information to forecast out the remainder of the year. So if I scroll over to the right, we've defined different drivers. So right now we're saying populate the forecast month with an average of the prior 3 months. Okay, there's different drop downs available here. Maybe I want to fill that with the budget. So I make that change, and it now has whatever I had budgeted for August through December populated into those cells. And my cost of sales, I'm saying, you know what, just use last year actuals. We're pretty much on track to get to where we want to be there. Okay, so that's the rolling forecast and how you can utilize those actuals and budgets to create those different drivers. And those drivers are your choice if you wanted it to be an average of the last 6 months or the last 2 months, or just take the last actualized month and spread it out or fill the rest of the year. Anything that you want it to be, it can be. Okay? So the last thing I wanted to show you is how do we get here? How do we create these dashboards? How do we create these different tabs? So I'm going to go ahead and just flip into edit mode on my P&L final. Notice that I get this green plus sign here saying, hey, do you want to add another tab or another sheet to this workbook? So I just click that plus sign, and it now gives me some templates should I want to use different templates for start for formatting, or I could just say freeform. I'm simply going to select a basic template here and say let's use that. Now, we talked about pulling all of this information in from multiple source systems and capturing the budget. If I click on this plus sign over here and I go to our SmartCo application, I'm capturing all of that information in a cube. Think of a cube as an Excel pivot table. But this holds all of our business rules. This does those calculations for us. It pulls the data in and consolidates it from the multiple sources, and it allows us to write back and capture our budget information. So all of that information we've been working with lives in one or more of these cubes. And I'm going to go ahead down to our income statement reporting cube. And we have different dimensions. That's how I can slice and dice the data. And then I also have different views that might have been saved by myself or somebody else within the organization that I have access to them. So I can just take the income statement management view and drag and drop that onto my palette. I now have the ability to say we're currently looking at net profit. I could change that. If I wanted to look at actuals instead of budget, I can make that change. So very quickly, I could do that. If I want to switch what's on my rows and columns, I can just drag and drop those around as well. Okay? So I can take a view that's already been created and saved, drag it on, and then make changes if I want, or just leave it as is. But what if I didn't know where that data lived, or I didn't know which cube to go into? I can also use some of the natural language capabilities that we have. So I can simply ask a question. What is my actual net profit by year and by organization? When I do that, Planning Analytics is going to search through the information that I hold in all of those SmartCo cubes, and it's going to present me back with some options. So the first one is coming from the income statement. I also have some information in revenue reporting, and it gives me a sample. We're going to go ahead and use that first one of income statement. We pull it in. It gives us our view right away. As I said, we can drag and drop to switch our rows and columns if I want to take that back. Also, I have different options up here on my smart menu bar where I can say, you know what, I'd like to just see this as maybe a line chart. So that quickly I've been able to pull it in, find what I need, put it into a line chart. Maybe I don't want to see these calculations there. I can also go ahead and make adjustments to what's selected here. Or I can say, you know what, just take these calculations and just remove them from the view. I'm not deleting them, I'm just not displaying them. Okay? So that quickly we can see all of our organization's net profit by year for actual data that's been brought in from multiple source systems. Okay? So in summary today, we started as that SmartCo executive who was looking to get a picture of their defined KPIs and their strategic goals for the total company. And he was able to quickly get that even though the locations within his company have different source systems. With Planning Analytics, we pull it in. We have one centralized place for those business rules. We consolidate it, and you can get that overall view. But you're not limited to that overall view. You're also able to start going down through that hierarchy of your locations, rolling up to region, and then the total company. So the executive, just by making one click, was able to identify an issue in the Eastern region. He then contacted that Eastern regional manager, who was able to dig a little deeper and then finally pull his analyst in to identify where there were issues, and they could take a look at the operational plan for laptops in that retail channel so that they could understand the financial impact for the following year and get the proper people on that issue so that it could be corrected. We took a look at how we can apply workflow around capturing our budgets and our plans so that any budgets that are entered or modifications had to be approved by the manager, that regional manager, and then all the way up to the corporate level. For capturing the budgets, that template was built once, and it was used by all of the different locations, giving us one place for maintenance, one place for those centralized business rules. We ensured that everybody had the most recent version. We didn't have to worry about which Excel spreadsheet were we using. And again, those budgets rolled up automatically to the corporate level, so no manual consolidations that needed to be done. And then we took a look at how we could take that data that we had from actuals and budgets and do some what-if scenarios around what if we're on track from last year, or we use the average of the last 3 months, or we use the budget to populate out those forecasted months in our rolling forecast. And then finally, we just saw how quickly and easily the dashboard and reports can be built utilizing either those saved views or by simply asking a question. And speaking of asking a question, we will certainly follow up with any of the questions that you've typed into the chat screen today. And I'd like to thank you all again for your time today and have a wonderful day.
Okay, Sue, thank you so much for taking us through that demo. All right, in summary, what makes IBM different? So first, IBM Plan Analytics will help you drive pervasive engagement and alignment across the organization. We'll scale your expertise with advanced analytics, things like Watson. And you can leverage cloud to accelerate your journey. Again, you can be provisioned in days. To set up a free consultation with one of our experts here at LPA, feel free to email sales@lpa.com or call the number you see on the presentation. Alternatively, respond to the email we'll send following this event. We thank you very much for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.